It was almost midnight when the storm rolled over the city, wind howling through the empty streets. Ethan's wipers fought the rain as he drove home from his late freelance shift, eyes half-tired, thoughts scattered. He wasn't expecting anything unusual. It was supposed to be another quiet night. But as his headlights curved along the road near the woods, something flashed. A glint of metal, a flicker of red and blue light swallowed by rain. He slowed down, then saw it. A fallen motorcycle, its wheels still spinning weakly, and beside it, a man sprawled on the wet pavement. Ethan's heart raced. He pulled over, jumped out into the rain, and rushed toward him. The man was wearing a police uniform. Blood trickled down his temple, mixing with the rain. His eyes fluttered open for a moment, dazed and confused. Hey, stay with me," Ethan said, kneeling beside him. He grabbed his phone, tried calling for help, but the signal blinked in and out. The storm had knocked the service down. The hospital was 10 miles away. Ethan hesitated only for a second before making a decision. "I'm taking you with me," he murmured. He helped the officer to his car, supporting his weight as best he could. The man groaned softly, whispering something about a hit-and-run driver, but his words faded into silence. When Ethan finally got him inside his small apartment, both were drenched. He laid the man carefully on the couch, hurried to grab a first aid kit, and turned on the heater. The warm light softened the harsh lines of the officer's face. Ethan cleaned the cut on his forehead, wrapping it gently. The man winced but stayed quiet. "You're lucky, officer. That crash could have been worse," Ethan said softly. "Ryan," the man whispered, voice rough but steady. "Officer Ryan Hayes." Ethan nodded, memorizing the name. "I'm Ethan. You're safe here." For the first time since his breakup months ago, Ethan felt his heart stir with something other than bitterness. The last time he'd cared for someone, it ended with betrayal. His ex had lied to him for months, leaving him hollow. Now, looking at the injured man on his couch, Ethan felt that old instinct to protect someone, to care, awaken again. He tried not to read too much into it. This was just helping a stranger. That's all. Ryan tried to sit up, muttering about duty, reports, and his motorcycle. Ethan shook his head. "You're not going anywhere tonight. You hit your head. Just rest." Ryan looked like he wanted to argue, but exhaustion won. Ethan handed him a warm towel and went to make tea. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the heater and the rain drumming softly on the window. When Ethan returned, Ryan had dozed off. He looked peaceful, vulnerable even. Ethan set the tea aside and sat across from him, watching the flicker of light reflect off the badge clipped to his jacket. That's when he noticed the ring, a silver band on Ryan's left hand. Married. Ethan felt a strange twist in his chest. Of course, he thought, someone like him wouldn't be alone. He sighed quietly, reminding himself that this had nothing to do with him. He was just doing the decent thing. A few hours later, Ryan stirred awake. The thunder had calmed, leaving only soft rainfall outside. He blinked, looking disoriented, then caught sight of Ethan sitting nearby. "You stayed up?" Ryan asked. Ethan smiled faintly. "Didn't feel right leaving you alone like that." Ryan looked around the room, still taking in where he was. "You didn't have to go through all this trouble," he said quietly. Ethan shrugged. "Maybe not, but you needed help." Their eyes met for a second too long before Ethan looked away, suddenly aware of the warmth rising in his chest. Ryan tried to stand but winced. Ethan helped steady him, and for a brief moment, their hands brushed. Nothing deliberate, just contact. But it sent an unexpected jolt through Ethan. He stepped back quickly, hiding it under a polite smile. "You can take the couch tonight." "I'll grab a blanket." Ryan nodded, grateful but embarrassed. "You really don't need to." "It's fine," Ethan interrupted gently. "Just rest. The roads are still a mess out there." Later, when Ethan finally went to bed, sleep didn't come easily. He could hear Ryan breathing softly from the living room, the faint rhythm strangely comforting. The apartment, which usually felt too quiet, too empty, suddenly felt alive again. He turned toward the window, watching the streetlights blur through the rain. Maybe this was just a fleeting moment, two lives crossing paths by accident. But deep down, something about tonight felt important, as if fate had chosen this storm to remind him that not every ending means loneliness. Sometimes it's just the beginning of something neither person sees coming. The next morning, Ryan left before sunrise, leaving only a short note on the kitchen counter. "Thank you for last night. I owe you one." "Ryan." Ethan stood by the window, watching the rain ease into a gray drizzle. He read the note again, feeling something unfamiliar, a quiet ache mixed with curiosity. He told himself it was just concern, nothing more. But that small message stayed with him for days. A week passed before Ethan saw Ryan again. He was walking home from the grocery store when a car pulled up beside him. The window rolled down, and there he was, Ryan, clean-shaven, smiling shyly, still wearing his uniform. "You look better when you're not covered in rain," Ethan joked. Ryan laughed. "I could say the same about you." "Mind if I walk you home?" Ethan hesitated, then nodded. It felt strange but comfortable, like something already familiar. From that day, visits became routine. Sometimes Ryan came in uniform, other times in plain clothes. He'd stop by with coffee or leftover sandwiches from the precinct. They'd talk for hours about everything and nothing: movies, childhood stories, small-town memories. Ethan hadn't talked like that in months. He didn't realize how much he'd missed it until Ryan started showing up unannounced, with a soft knock and an easy smile. One evening, Ryan helped fix a broken sink in the kitchen. Ethan handed him tools and tried not to stare at the way his hands moved, confident, steady. "You're good at this," Ethan said lightly. Ryan shrugged. "Comes with the job. We patch things up more often than people realize." Ethan laughed softly. "Yeah, but not everything can be fixed with a wrench." Ryan looked at him, really looked, and for a moment neither of them spoke. The conversation shifted to music, to rain, to life. Ryan opened up in small, cautious pieces, about long hours, pressure, how people expected him to always be strong.
"Some nights," he admitted, "I just drive around with no destination."
"It's easier than going home." Ethan didn't ask why, but he noticed Ryan's eyes dimmed when he mentioned home. The ring still glinted on his finger, but its shine seemed duller now, like a habit he couldn't quite break. One evening, as thunder rumbled again outside, Ethan brewed tea and found Ryan sitting quietly by the window. "Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life?" Ryan asked suddenly. The question caught Ethan off guard. "All the time," he said softly. "You?" Ryan nodded slowly. "Yeah, more than I should." The air between them felt heavier that night, charged with unspoken emotion. Ethan wanted to reach out, to tell him he understood that loneliness, the kind that crawls under your skin even when someone sleeps beside you. But he held back. He'd already been burned by someone who couldn't choose him completely. He wasn't ready to fall for another secret. Yet every time Ryan left, Ethan felt the emptiness return stronger. The silence after Ryan's visits was unbearable, like the apartment forgot how to breathe without him in it. He tried distracting himself with work, but his sketches kept turning into sketches of Ryan, his smile, his posture, the look in his eyes when he laughed. One night Ryan arrived soaked from the rain again. Ethan handed him a towel and teased, "You must really like showing up when it storms." Ryan chuckled. "Maybe storms make it easier to be honest." That answer lingered. They sat on the couch, side by side, watching lightning flash beyond the window. "You ever think about fate?" Ethan asked quietly. Ryan replied, "Lately, yeah. A lot." The silence stretched. Ryan's hand brushed Ethan's as they both reached for the same mug. Neither moved away. The air seemed to hold its breath. Ryan looked at him, eyes full of conflict. "I shouldn't," he started, then stopped. Ethan pulled his hand back gently, his voice trembling. "You don't owe me anything, Ryan. You're married." "I know what that means," Ryan exhaled, closing his eyes. "I'm married, yeah. But it doesn't feel like it anymore." His tone wasn't defensive, just tired, honest. Ethan felt his heart twist. "Then maybe you should fix it before you break something else," he said quietly. Ryan looked down. "You sound like you've been there." Ethan smiled faintly. "I have. It doesn't end well." Ryan nodded, his jaw tightening. "I don't want to hurt anyone," he said. "But when I'm here, I forget everything that hurts." That confession hung in the air between them, fragile and real. Ethan didn't respond. He couldn't. The rain outside grew louder, echoing the storm building between them. When Ryan left later that night, he paused at the door, his uniform cap in his hands. "Thank you," he said softly. For listening. Ethan smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. As the door closed, he leaned against it, letting out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The sound of the rain filled the silence again, washing over him like a reminder. He told himself it was just friendship, just two lonely people finding comfort in each other. But deep down, he knew that was a lie he couldn't keep believing forever. Is this conversation helpful so far? The next morning began differently. The air felt heavier, and Ethan couldn't shake the sense that something was coming. He'd been trying to distract himself with work, sketching new designs for a client, when his phone buzzed. The message was short and cold. We need to talk. Ryan, his heart sank. He stared at the screen for a long time before replying, Okay, come by when you can. When Ryan arrived, he wasn't wearing his uniform. His eyes were red, his face pale. Ethan barely had time to ask what was wrong before Ryan said it. Laura knows. The room went silent. Ethan froze, searching Ryan's expression for meaning. Knows about us, Ryan nodded. She saw your drawing in my phone. I never meant for her to see it. It wasn't even anything romantic. But she knew. She said she could see it in the way I talked about you. Ethan felt his chest tighten. I'm sorry, Ryan. I never wanted to come between you two. Ryan shook his head, pacing the room. You didn't. It was already broken. I just didn't want to admit it until you showed up. His voice trembled. She deserves the truth. I told her everything. Ethan stood quietly, unsure what to say. He knew that confession came at a cost. What happens now? He asked. Ryan let out a long breath. She's leaving for a while. I'm staying with a friend until things settle. The department found out too. Someone overheard us talking in the parking lot. He gave a bitter laugh. Guess there are no secrets in this job. Ethan felt a sharp ache of guilt. Ryan, maybe this is the part where we stop. Ryan looked up quickly. You want to stop? I think we have to, Ethan replied softly. You need space to figure things out. And I can't be the reason your life falls apart. Ryan looked away, clenching his jaw. You think this was just a mistake? Ethan hesitated. No, he whispered. That's what makes it harder. For a moment, neither spoke. The rain outside had returned, tapping gently against the window. Ryan finally said, I'm being suspended for personal misconduct. It's not official yet, but it's coming. I don't know what I'll do next. Ethan wanted to comfort him, to reach out, but he stopped himself. Instead, he said, maybe start over. Somewhere no one knows you. No lies, no pretending. Ryan looked at him with weary eyes. Would you come with me if I did? The question hit harder than Ethan expected. He wanted to say yes. He wanted to believe they could start again. But he also knew the world didn't make it that easy. I think you need to go alone first, he said gently. Find yourself before you find anyone else. Ryan's eyes glistened and he gave a small nod. You always know what's right even when it hurts. Ethan smiled sadly. No, I just learned the hard way. When Ryan left that night, the goodbye felt heavier than words could carry. There was no dramatic scene, no final kiss. Just a long look that said everything they couldn't say aloud. Ethan stood in the doorway long after the sound of Ryan's car faded into the distance. He knew this was the right choice, but that didn't make it any easier. Days turned into weeks. The apartment felt emptier than ever. Ethan tried to fill the silence with work, music, anything. He told himself not to wait, not to expect. Then, one gray afternoon, a letter arrived in his mailbox. The handwriting was familiar. Ethan, I've left the force. I'm moving out west to a smaller town, somewhere quiet. I'm not running away. I'm just starting over. I told Laura the truth, and I think we'll both heal better apart. You once told me that some things can't be fixed with a wrench. You were right, but you also showed me that not everything broken stays that way. You saved me twice, once on that road, and again when you reminded me that being honest is worth it. Maybe one day when it rains again, we'll meet under kinder skies. Ryan. Ethan read the letter twice, then folded it carefully and slipped it into the drawer beside his bed. He sat there for a long time, listening to the soft patter of rain against the window. It felt like the world was closing a chapter gently, without bitterness, just quiet understanding. That evening, he went for a walk down the same stretch of road where he'd found Ryan that first night. The sky was a dull silver, the pavement still wet. He stopped at the curve, staring at the spot illuminated by the streetlights. The memory was still vivid, the crash, the rain, the fear. But this time it didn't hurt. It felt like peace. He smiled faintly, whispering to the empty air, "You made it, Ryan. I hope you're free." Then he turned and walked back home, the rain soft against his shoulders. For the first time in a long while, Ethan didn't feel alone. He'd lost something, yes, but he'd also found something greater. The strength to let go with love, to forgive what couldn't be changed, and to keep his heart open for whatever might come next. ChatGPT, K.